Welcome to Smart Haus, a Pittsburgh podcast about smart technologies, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and the future. I'm your host, Dustin Dowling, and with me today is fellow filmmaker and fellow Bobby Moe alum, Darren DiNapoli. What's up, Darren?
What's up, Dustin?
So what are you packing today? What smart devices you got on you?
So today I brought my Apple iPhone. I have the XS Max, and then also I brought my 360 camera, my Insta360 One X2.
That's high tech. That's high tech. Explain what this thing actually is doing right now.
So right now it is recording in 360 degrees. So it has a lens on one side. Think about it as like a smartphone where you have a camera on one side, a camera on the other, and it merges those two images together to form one sphere. And that's essentially what we were looking at.
Try to show the camera that right now.
Let's see if you can see
this. You
this.
can kind of see.
But
yeah.
You can see all around you, and it's stitching it live in real time.
So if you would pick it up right now, would your arm like disappear, or how's that happen?
The arm doesn't disappear, but see, like this bottom part would.
Yeah.
So it also comes with the selfie stick too that you can have, and that actually disappears. So up to a certain point, that's what
See, that's what I've seen. I've seen weird tricks where like someone like goes through a couple bars, and it almost looks like the camera's magically going through because you don't see the stick. It like made it disappear.
Yeah.
So that's wild.
Yeah.
So what have you used this technology to make so far, besides just maybe fun YouTube videos?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it's there's a potential to use it for 360 storytelling, documentaries. I've worked on a documentary where I followed a local guitar player around for a couple years and created a 360 documentary about his life. So when you go into his world to see like how he creates, that was kind of the interesting concept. And having the different type of technology like these 360 cameras was interesting because you could put it next to like guitar pedals and be like in that environment, or down by the record player where he puts his records down, and then also at his concert. So I think it allows you to play with perspective.
Right, because you could be like a mini person, right?
Yes.
You're basically like walking on the stage, but you're like the size of the pedal.
Right. So you could position the camera where it is eye level and like you're standing up next to the subject, or as you can see like with this video, we have it right on the table. So it would be like a mini person sitting, and we're giants basically here.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Actually, that's funny because one of my first VR experiences, I think it was the first Oculus, I was just trying things out, and that's when you had that documentary up.
Yes.
So that one of my first VR experiences is your documentary.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
But I actually upgraded to the Quest 2,
Yep.
and lately I'm like addicted. Because there's this new game called Populous One. It's not really new, but they just updated the map, and it's like full on like Fortnite. The difference is you load the gun. Like you're physically got to do it. You got to look down the barrel, and then you got to talk to all your people.
Yeah.
The experience is so immersive. Like it's finally at that level, that dream I had as a kid of playing like in some kind of virtual world, like Player One the movie. It's there. It's there. Have you played with any of those yet?
So my go-to games on the Oculus are Pistol Whip, and I think I've
played that one.
I think that's the one I usually head towards is Pistol Whip, because I just like that arcade style shooter game. It just reminds me of like back growing up, being at the Monroeville Mall. There was an arcade called Tilt. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, Tilt. Totally remember that.
But yeah, no, I'd always play the like Die Hard. The shooting game, but that's what I like. I think I like just that it has you on a path, you're shooting, as opposed to like I played like Resident Evil and Walking Dead and all that, but it's like there's a lot of like you got to dedicate time to those games.
Yeah, it's like now it's a life experience, like truly is. And I do watch people on TikTok, like this one guy plays a game called Blades and Sorcerer, and he's wild with it. He also mods it out for like lightsabers and stuff, but he has the full on like, he feels it when he gets hit.
Yeah.
He has the thing where you walk on, so you physically walk.
Yeah.
And a lot of his content though is just gruesome because he's just murdering people.
Yeah.
And like lightsabers and using the Force, and like it's cool because the bottom of the TikTok is him and his always like VR gear, and it's an Oculus too, just rigged with nicer stuff. But it's crazy, and you're right. It's like, well, man, it's like that looks like fun, but now it's like, what would you do last week? It's like I was on a quest, like for real. Like it's so so immersive. Would you find yourself, you think, if it is that much fun to like in the future when you get older that you're gonna maybe spending more time in VR. Do you see that happening?
It depends. I guess if my vision is still good, I guess that's one thing. As you know, as you get older, different things don't always work. So I think that, you know, as terms of like, how you can experience things, if you're older, you can't go out, you can't experience whatever the outside world, then I think that's a way to kind of help you at least connect with reality in some aspects. So I think that that's one thing that will provide a source of entertainment if you can't physically go out to an arcade or whatever.
I think the eye problem won't be a deal because you'll just plug in.
Yeah,
like, I think last week we were already talking about this guy went through a procedure and he's basically locked in his body. I forget what disease he had.
I saw that he asked for the band Tool, right?
Yeah, and he asked for that in a beer, and they just plugged him in. And basically, they just had to kind of play a game for a while. Basically, like, okay, this is yes, this is no, and they just kind of had a match and just kind of you build it from there. And I saw a very similar. It's probably the same technology of a monkey or an ape,
right?
And he was playing Pong. Mm-hmm. And first he had a controller, they had him plugged in, and then they unplugged the controller, but they still let him have the controller. And then they took away the controller and he was still playing. And not only was he playing, he was crushing it. He was crushing it. And I was like, okay, we're there. That's right. Now from between there and there, I guess the new glasses, the new goggles coming out are having some kind of tracking feature. So like it will track your eye and you won't have that weird blurry vision. You know? So
the only thing that I dislike about the Oculus Quest 2 is between the 1 and the 2, they have this thing where you have to adjust the diopter inside the thing. So like if your eyes aren't like in that 1, 2, 3 thing, then you have to like edge it here. Whereas like the original ones, they had those like you could just fine tune it, you know?
And I think that's probably one of the things where they understand that the tracking software is coming out soon, and it's not going to, once they get that, because here's a weird thing, if you have a slightly lazy eye, or one eye is slower than the other one, because I think my right might be a little slower, and so when I put it on and I adjust, I'm like, oh, it looks great, but if I start playing, I'm like, what the heck? So I have to have it like a little off. It's weird. It's a weird, very specific thing, but they'll fix that with the new tracking and stuff. So I'm really excited. Like I said, I think I've been spending, there's at least 2-3 hours, and sometimes I get that big red line. Like everyone's gonna be coming to work now and just looking really goofy.
That's right. Well, I haven't tried the metaverse yet. I don't know with that. I mean, I just compare that to what it's like Second Life, but
it had Second. I mean, it's a lame lobby, and like you never played. It's the lobby of other video games. That's all it is. They trying to make it seem like it's this other new VR world, and maybe it's. But right now, it's a lobby. It's a chat lobby.
So that's why I was like saying, like, you know, when I was growing up, or you and I, we had AOL. So like, you would just go into a chat room and like just talk to random people, and that's
no difference than now you can walk around and molest them virtually. Like that's the difference, and they've had to adjust that. There's now an option, there's a bubble option, so people can't get close to you. But I saw a bunch of TikToks and other viral things of like just kids just ruining people's days there, because I guess some of Facebook employees have to, like that's their job, to log in and just kind of hang out and help people. And there's they're just kids just bullying these older adults, whatever, they're 20-some years old, and I'm like, oh, that sounds awful. So it doesn't sound like anything too great right now. But like, what if we were in VR in Twitter? So if I had VR and we were in Twitter, would that even be a thing? Like, I can't, like, I just imagine every app somehow needs to jump into this virtual world. And you know, with Twitter in the news and Elon buying Twitter, like my daughter's 12, and she kind of knows what it is, but doesn't care. Like, and like she does care very much about TikTok. She knows what Facebook is, at least, and kind of understands like it's the old people's social media. And Instagram's is like a different version of TikTok, but Twitter means nothing to her.
I know.
So like this acquisition for Elon, like, I mean, it's not going to make money. I don't think he cares about that much, but I just don't see where Twitter is in the future. What do you think?
I think that he is looking at it as an opportunity to, I think, you know, get more people interested in it. So he's, like you said, you know, he's like all about like this tech thing like Tesla and SpaceX and everything like that. So I think like he's trying to like figure out how to merge this high tech world with like this communication. He's seeing how like Twitter has not done anything new. I mean, I think when Twitter was hot, they had Vine.
Yes,
that was
good point.
That was an early thing that they let just slide by, and other platforms just took that over. I don't know if they got acquired or something like that, but I think that Twitter just became like, it's headline news. I think that's where I look at Twitter is like, unless you have like something to say in less than how many characters, but there's nothing really interesting about that. I don't think that was like, to me, I don't really use Twitter. I don't tweet because I'm like, I rather express myself with video. So I think if there's a video component to this, or like you said, like some VR or some new tech thing, then that would make it more interesting to somebody like me.
You're right. And it's also weird too, because it's like if it does change, well, then it's not Twitter. It's just another video platform, which you're now competing with other video platforms. And it is weird. As a product, it's so weird. It's like it's not even a great way to communicate.
Yeah, right.
It's obviously causing a lot of problems, but it does seem to be like the de facto, like if you need to get your headline news out,
yes.
You need to get immediate message out.
Yeah.
Like it does seem to work that way. And it is kind of interesting because Tesla has no advertising at all. It's all because of hype and Elon himself. So, and they don't have any problems, so that's obviously true. So if the man is like, basically buys the biggest talking pulpit in the world, I just don't see where it might be in the future. Like there's this new feature that I just saw popped up on the news, and I don't know if it was called the Vibe feature, or I actually wrote down Vibe because that's what it felt, but it was no different than what Facebook does. It's like, what are you doing today? And it has like a couple options, like driving the highway, which I think it's a weird one actually, with shopping for groceries. One says lurking Twitter. Lurking Twitter is an option. Yeah. So it's just like, that's such a weird thing to add to the platform.
Right,
it's almost like, hey, tell me more stuff for no reason.
That's right. Yeah.
It's really weird.
That's where I think that, social media, there has to be some way that like when people get their content, it's like a mixture between like regular ordinary people, putting their stuff out there versus like it's like its own channel, like tuning on to TV. So I think that's where like companies like Twitter and Facebook and everything, they've kind of decentralized that element where you don't just go to a channel and you click on it. So if there's some way that Twitter can figure out a method of making media more like, I don't want to have to go through 6,000 people of like their personal opinions. I want to get to like the content that I want to.
Sounds like an algorithm thing.
Or an algorithm.
Yeah, and like that's kind of what they've been talking about. I guess there's a couple of new acts from Europe. There's a Digital Service Act. There's laws they already have.
Yeah.
And that's just with hate speaks and privacy. But there are some things about algorithms and such can be like. Are they open source? Can you see them or not?
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, we want everything open source so everyone can see. But what happens is if everyone knows how it works, then you can manipulate Twitter.
Right.
And then you can get, that you try to do that now. Actually, in marketing and advertising, they teach you or you learn how you figure out like, what can I do to make this at the top of the feed? And that's actually kind of one of the reasons why Facebook and Twitter is such an issue, because people at these mainstream or whatever, anyone's trying to make news, the whole goal is to get seen.
Yep.
And if you like understand like, well, this hashtag and I enrage this group and I say this certain thing, like, oh, I'm at top of the feed and it's not real. And I guess they're trying to fight that, and maybe a good algorithm.
Right.
But algorithms are scary.
Or like you said, I think maybe that's the other thing too, is like, Facebook acquired Oculus. They're getting into VR. So Twitter, maybe that's his thing, is like he wants to acquire some other new tech. Like maybe AR is Elon's next endeavor or something with
You know what? That's such a great point. And AR is not talked about enough. It's kind of like skipped over. Like we're just going to go full virtual.
Yeah.
And even I think Microsoft has something. I don't remember what's called off the top of my head. Halo.
The HoloLens.
Yeah. Because it's like based off of like the one video game.
Yeah.
And I guess they gave that to the military. It didn't work out real well.
Yeah.
By the way, but it's still early beta stuff.
Right.
You're right. Because I would find that way more useful if I would have glasses on or contacts and like it just read something on your head or on top of that camera in front of us, you know, anything was wrong with it, just immediate error.
Right.
And considering it Twitter's more, I guess,
headline news,
headline text based, You're walking around, have your Twitter glasses on.
Yeah.
And now you get,
right.
You should call him up. Let's get a hold of Elon now.
Get on Elon.
Let's get him on Twitter. Get on Twitter.
Elon.
Yeah, Elon. Hey, I was gonna try to do an impression, but I'm gonna attempt. It's just like a boring tech guy is the impression of Elon. What was I gonna move on with the Europe thing? What was I gonna say about that? Oh, the
standards.
The standards in the algorithms, but they're also, this is a little bit different story, but I wanted to talk about also the standards in this Digital Service Act was power, and they're gonna hopefully make like all iPhones have to like do USB-C. Like all smartphones, you do USB-C. And I actually thought that was sort of funny because at one point, everyone just plugged in the wall. The United States, I don't know why I called that. I don't know what it's actually called.
Yeah.
But the regular two or three prong, that was for everything. And then stuff started going with USB, and then there's USB-C and the different kind of ports. And next thing you know, I'm plugging in the wrong stuff and blowing my shit up. So I understand how awesome this would be, but I think something else they're going to come up with something new. It's all going to be wireless. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I think that there's like an ever-changing method of transferring data and charging, you know, like you said, there's that. I just realized, I don't know, it was like a year or two ago or whatever, and I was trying to buy a cable on Amazon, and it was like you have a USB cable for charging and you have a USB cable for data transfer. And I had no idea that the two were, you know, in existence.
Me neither.
I just thought I'd buy a USB cable and that was it. And little did I know that's not the case.
Yeah, so I was trying to rig out a Mac Mini I have at home, one of the ones, the M1s that came out like last year. And that's when I realized, there's power, data, and then there's power and data.
Yeah.
And there's so many different speeds. There's the 3G cable, there's a 5G cable, and if you have like the wrong hub or anything, I was having all kinds of technical issues with it.
Yeah.
But I just miss, like, I want one cable. Why is it so difficult?
Yeah.
But to be honest though, when I had it right, like I was moving data from my hard drive. When I first tried to do it when I was at my friend's house, we were picking up, I was doing a gig and I needed footage. It took an hour. So we were hung out. And I came home and I hooked it all correctly. It took 8 minutes. So I was like, so there is a difference. And I do want it right, but it is really, really annoying.
Well, the other thing that to consider is not just USB-C, but in music, since I play music, there's the MIDI, M-I-D-I cable.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're trying to, I don't know if they've revamped it, but they're trying to figure out a way, MIDI 2.0, and then also wireless MIDI is a thing, or, you know, they're trying to perfect that. So I think that the MIDI cable is one of those connectors that has never advanced at all, and they're saying we need something new. And now
why?
Yeah, I know.
Why?
They're saying, well, you know, the connectivity between devices, like they're now USB MIDI connect, like you can connect devices through the USB connectors.
Yeah.
But they're trying to say there's going to be a new form of MIDI in the future.
I just want everything wireless. This is also my vision of the future, that everything is going to be wireless.
Yeah.
But then you open up a wall or a thing and see all those wires back there behind that piece. That's what, like, every wall will look like that. It's just like this hidden mess.
Right.
Or like in the movie Blade Runner, and even in the, I was going to say the Flintstones, but the Jetsons, like the bottom floor of the world is just a mess. It's just a mess of wires.
You know, one thing I was interesting I could talk about is, so I've been going back and watching some throwback stuff. So like I've been watching, Beavis and Butthead and whatever, but Eon Flux, if you remember that cartoon back in the day, it was like a futuristic thing. And I was like looking at this, I was like, how do they talk to each other? Like, where's their phone, or where's their form of communication? So that's one thing. As I was watching that show on the DVDs, I was like, is there a communication? Like, is there a phone, or like, so that's something interesting. I think to the viewers out there, if you ever go back and you watch the series Eon Flux, how do they communicate? Because there's at one point a bird delivers a message, and it's like tied to the bird's leg, and I'm like, is that how they send
any
messages?
steampunk type of movie, which is an awkward genre. Basically, it's basically a genre that the world decided to use steam instead of electric, and then
that's right.
So from there, they have to invent all these other things.
Yeah,
it has that kind of idea, or like, well, you're not gonna. But even you would think they have other things. They're like, wait a second, if that works, then why can't you have a phone?
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't remember which show or movie I watched. I want to say it was the new Batman, but I might be wrong. It was either the new Batman or another show on Apple TV, and they purposely, I'm sorry, it wasn't the new Batman, I'm way off. It's the new show on Apple TV called Severance. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, it is fucking fantastic. It's 10 episodes for the first season. It's directed by Ben Stiller.
Oh, okay.
And it stars, I can't remember the actor's name, but he is in Step Brothers. He's like the annoying son that everyone loves.
John C. Reilly?
No, the good looking guy, not the comedian actors. I can't remember his name. Like the one part he has like six pack and he like gets punched in the face.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's the lead. It's the guy from Parks and Rec. So, but like one thing was like, it's so futuristic, you know, because the show basically what happens is for you to, if you want to work at this company, they just implant you with this thing in your brain. And so when you go up the elevator, you forget. And then when you come down the elevator, you don't remember work. You make a new personality, like a new person in your head.
Yeah.
But for the show to kind of work, they have really crappy cell phone technology. The one guy has a flip phone. And I've actually read this in other things, in like, I think it was Seinfeld. If there were cell phones in Seinfeld, that show would not work whatsoever. It's just too many times where you could just text someone or call someone and just fix the situation.
Right.
And I think this show understood that and said, let's just make this world, we just don't have that technology.
Yeah.
Even though it kind of doesn't make sense with all this other high-tech stuff, it's like, the story will suck, let's just pretend. And it totally works. It made the show so much better. And so that's a funny question. So I wonder if when they did that show that you're talking about, what was it called again?
Eon Flux.
Eon Flux. I know I've seen that.
It's like Underworld, but like, you know, that's probably
I think
Underworld.
I definitely seen it. But I
there
wonder
was
if
no vampires or werewolves. It was like a futuristic. Yeah, it was like she was kind of like the female Blade, but not a vampire. But
But I wonder if that was a decision they made on purpose because they knew like that would screw up the storyline, or they're just like, well, they're just not gonna have phones. Why would they have phones?
Yeah. Oh wait,
really cool.
On the topic of, you said how technology ruins things. I think technology at this point. Okay, so I'm 38 years old, and you know, I'm at this point now where like I hate technology in the dating world. So I could just say that technology has not helped me find a date. It has like basically gotten to the point where you're like, I'm at this point where now like I'm reverting back to my early days of dating, where it's just like I just want to go out there into the world and find somebody real that isn't just looking to like, you know.
That's great. That's so funny. We're obviously, maybe we must have been in the same. I feel like every time we hang out, we end up talking about something like this.
That's right. Online dating.
Because we have very similar careers, and like just kind of how it works. With, you know, I do have you don't have any kids. I do have a 12-year-old, so there's a little bit difference there. But dating wise, when I first started doing the online dating, and I live an hour north too, so I live like in the boonies, so it was really hard for that to work out, like because I just not getting the searches. So what I have to do when I come to work, I would have to swipe and focus on that. Like I'm at work, I gotta swipe today. And I did have some good dates, and I did meet some people. So, but like it only worked for like the first 2 years, and then
they changed the algorithm.
It must have changed. You know what? You're probably right. They changed it. Now this was pre-pandemic too, but now I cannot match with shit. Can't match with shit.
Well, they decided, this is the thing. I got like the first 2 years, like early 30s. It was like you could see like this person was mutual friends with that person. You're like, oh, okay, now I have something in common. So if I talk to this person, I would say, hey, you know, hi, you know, such and such, whatever. They were my Facebook
Jim.
friends.
Yeah, I know Jim.
Yeah, right. But now it's like, if you want to match with anybody, you have to pay. So it's like, I don't want to pay to at least talk to somebody. They could unmatch with me.
I could join a fraternity again.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. Exactly.
Like you said, reverting back to what we had to do before.
I might as well just go, like you said, join a club or something.
Dude, I've been asked to join the local bar club. It's like only $7 a year, which is a really weird amount, by the way. But like they want you to hang out, and I said, like, it really is a tale of two worlds in this country, at least from where I live, an hour north in Armstrong County and then Pittsburgh. Like when I walk into a bar or a restaurant, it is entirely, it's down to the way people talk, the way people approach you. And it's different up there. And I just have struggle meeting someone. But, that's why I'm really putting myself out there, just showing up at places. Just hoping I bump into someone and just like something.
That's right.
Something happens. I wish I could just go back to school and just go up to one of the towers.
That's right.
And go to a fraternity party.
That's right,
it was so easy back then.
It was so easy to meet people, we'll say.
So easy to meet people.
It's like when you're depending on the technology to meet somebody, at some point, like there's other things going on there. Like you just have to like wonder, like, why, is this other person talking to 6 other people at the same time, or what's going on? Where like, if you meet somebody, you could like just get it over with right then and there. Like, hey, are you seeing anybody or whatever? It's like, sure. No,
I can't get over the problem. Also with some of the dating apps, if you're on there too long, well, then you're that guy.
You're on there too long.
You're the guy. I've seen TikTok jokes. It's like, oh, there's Joe.
That's right.
Joe's been there for a while. Like, I wonder how. Oh, Joe's got a new pic. You're not even dateable now.
That's right.
You're just the guy on Tinder.
I've removed myself. I've become a more hot item by taking myself off the dating apps.
I think that, but then I get bored. I get bored, and then I know, because like I said, I've had some good dates that like went like to the 3rd, 4th date, and it's like
I've had it too. Yeah,
it's like I can do it again. I can do like gambling almost.
It's like an addiction, but you're just like, I gotta just stop it, because I'm like, hey, look, as a guy, get yourself out there,
so
meet people, the real life people, that are more interested in you. And right then and there, it's like, you don't gotta take them on a date. You're just gonna see them right then and there. And then if it leads to anything, sure, then you follow up with a second date. But like when you go on a blind date,
I do love reading some women's descriptions though, because it's so like, basically like, if I don't think we're gonna get married in 5 minutes, like fuck up.
Yeah. Well, the funniest story. I'll tell you technology around this. So this is funny. I don't know if I told you this before, but the funniest story was I went on this date with this girl through it was Bumble. Went on one date, and we went to a bar, or whatever, and then it didn't work out. I was like, kind of texted her. I said, hey, let's go on another date. Just totally ghosted me.
Yeah, I usually get ghosted. Yeah, that's usually
years later, I get hired by this company to shoot this wedding. So I always save their numbers in my phone, because I'm like, I don't want to make sure I'm talking to the right girl or whatever.
Right.
Years later, I get hired to shoot this random wedding. They said, here's the bride's number, blah, blah, blah. You're going to show up at her house. I typed in the number on the phone. It showed up as Jill Bumble. And I was like, oh, no. I was like, this is the girl that ghosted me. She's going to be like, I ghosted this guy years ago, and now he's back as my videographer for the wedding. So people said, like, that's a good story. It could be a rom-com that I could write someday.
Yeah. So. I do get ghosted, and that seems to be the standard. So, like, to be honest, I think this happens in our relationship. When someone does something to you, you kind of end up doing to other people.
Yeah.
And so I'm not as offended, but the one time I got ghosted, and we were like 3rd date maybe.
Yeah.
And like just came off a good couple of text messages too. And she was like somewhere else, like she was out of town.
That's right.
And I was like, oh, we're on my way. And then it was like, boom, gone. And I'll bring this part up. Oh, I forget her name, but she's a really talented artist. Yeah. And she's probably at the Art All Night stuff that's like this week and stuff like that. And every time, even before I met her, every time I see some of her art, I'm always like, man, I was going to buy that. Like before I met this girl, I was going to buy her art. It's really great. And now I'm like, I can't. Now, because every time I see it, I was like, that's that good looking girl at the OC.
Maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Like
I don't know.
Like the girl that ghosted
But she was
me.
a nice girl. It wasn't like anything about it. She might have met someone else. It's probably what happened, to be honest.
That's right. But you know what? I'm saying, get off the app. Time to get out there. Old school. Start wheeling and dealing in person. That's what I'm going to say.
Wheeling and dealing in person. Get off the apps until they have the virtual VR app, and then I'll be doing that.
That's right.
Hey, you want to go play Populous 1? Yeah? Let's go. Oh, why didn't it work out? I don't know. Anyways, let's move on to some other tech.
Sure.
I have a drone. I believe you have a drone too. You have more than one drone? What you got?
So right now I have 3 drones. So I have the Air 2. I got the Air 2S. And I just recently bought the DJI FPV drone.
Which is like a VR type thing.
Yes.
Okay.
So being well-versed in VR, that kind of helped me. Now, the first time I put on the FPV goggles, I kind of got motion sick because I wasn't used to standing there with goggles and then seeing the perspective of where the drone was flying. So they tell you to like maybe sit down, or you have to get used to that.
You always got to hold on to something, like in the chair.
Yes. And it's also, the thing that another friend that I have, he says, when you're flying that, it's kind of like driving a car. And I kind of feel that. It's like when you take a turn, like if I'm coming down a bend or whatever, and you're just like, oh, I need to be able to take, you have to know like where your vicinity is on either side of your drone when you're trying to take a bend, because you could hit into the wall or whatever.
Yeah. So it's like understanding where your back wheel is if you turn too hard of a right.
Yes. So I think that, it does require more practice. Now, with the DJI drones, they are set up where it's like the drone that you have and the Air 2S. So we're used to like just kind of taking it up, taking our hands off the sticks, cool, whatever. You can fly fast, you can do. But the way FPV drones are intended to be is flown in like manual mode, where you're actually having to control the level of the drone. So you're fighting against like the air, so it is like a balance game where you have to actually keep your hands on the sticks all the time.
Okay. And that's why I see people like they drive almost like this, like they're holding little picks.
Yeah, sometimes. You could do that. There's that way. But yeah, it is just a game of like just slight movements and like, or like, so I've flown a manual FPV drone, and it was like it was a nightmare. I was like, I thought I was going to crash into a tree. I thought I was going to crash the drone. I was like kind of concerned, but so I think it does require a little bit more, like you have to use like the flight simulator. So, VR practice.
So it is like you can practice in the simulator.
You can practice,
that's cool.
But I think nothing does compare to like just getting out there. The second time I flew the drone, I was out flying, and the thing that you can't see, it's called blind branches or wires that are hanging across.
So thin.
Because they're so thin. So I have this video footage of me approaching this wire like, oh, I'm going to fly in between this thing, and boom, I broke the drone, and I had to send it back. My first care refresh.
Did you have the refresh? Okay, yeah. You got the refresh.
Still cost me $200.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But it was better than $1,500. But yeah, no, it is another level of like, you have to be like in the cockpit.
Now, does it fly like the smaller drones where it's like there's like, oh, you can flip upside down with it?
You
can do those things?
But you have to put it in manual mode. So the DJI version does allow you to do that. But it was made for the person, I think, that is like that wants to fly their FPV long distances, like
more like sport flying, in between things, close to buildings.
Right.
Now, video wise, is it the same or maybe a little less than the other two? Because I would think that would be less than the more professional ones.
Can have it shoots up to 4K. I think that's the max that it shoots. But then you have the option to mount. Like I have a GoPro mount, and I've also tried doing the Insta360. Now there's things that you have to like hack the camera, and like you have to like disable the GPS in this camera. So I tried, actually my first test was this past Sunday. I tried to get this one up on the FPV. It was like no GPS. You couldn't. So I was like, I don't want to fly this around with no GPS because I'm not there yet.
Right.
So,
that's funny.
It was flying, blind. So I think that's the thing is like, yeah, you can put the GoPro. I have the Hero 10. I was like, but they also say is that when you put those things on these drones, you're then just increasing the price of the camera. Now they did release I don't know if you saw the GoPro Hero Bones, which was specifically made for FPV drones. So it really is just like this thin GoPro Hero 10 just stripped down, and it has these wires that come out to connect to your battery and all that stuff. So that I think is going to be more of like the game changer in that realm. For like we're not saying like Michael Bay is going to use that in like Ambulance 2.
Well, you'd be surprised though, because Michael Bay, what's the movie with Matt Damon, and they're all pumped, they're all crazy, and they're like muscle build guys. I think Dwayne Johnson's in it too. I can't remember that movie. It's people don't really know that it's a Michael Bay movie, but there's a lot of explosions. But he used a lot of like GoPros and stuff in that movie, especially in like the car and stuff. So even if you go back and watch, you'd be like, that's a lower quality. It doesn't matter because it's all this action and stuff. So I could see him doing crazy stuff like that.
They did. I mean, if you know the movie Ambulance, that was like the first one, but they were using like red cameras on these huge drones, and these guys were doing flips and So yeah, I mean, when you have a
with
budget,
the red camera.
yeah, when you have a budget like Michael Bay,
God.
you can afford to break a camera or two or whatever, 4 or 5. But yeah, so I think that's the other thing too, is like, this new technology is making it into the mainstream because it's such a cool, unique type of style filmmaking,
That is cool. There are these other things they're called tiny drones, which kind of makes me, the brand.
We just used those. We used one yesterday. It was literally like this.
They're so small.
This big, yeah.
Yeah, and they come with like their own goggles. Well, they're called shark goggles, I think is the brand that I've been seeing them on. But they just look like you kind of just throw them against the wall. Oh, they broke, and fix it.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Maybe a piece or two.
Yeah.
But a couple videos I've seen, like a little guy just kind of runs behind the building, throws his goggle down, throws the drone, and then and it's gone.
Yeah.
It looks like, oh man, I could see this as a military operation.
Yeah,
the one guy's like, all right, guys, scout it out, throws the drone up.
Yeah.
It goes right up, comes right back down.
The only thing I'm concerned about with FPV drones is like the batteries, because they're not like with DJI batteries, they're smart batteries. So they know like if it overheats, it's not going to like explode.
Yeah,
Whereas,
yeah.
These batteries that go on these small, hand-built drones are like, they could possibly explode. So I'm like, do I want to, catch?
Well, it's up to you.
Catch my apartment on fire.
Do you want to have a $30 battery and maybe explode the apartment? So, yeah, that's funny. But I haven't got the FPV one. I was thinking about it, and you're right. I'm trying. Now we're talking about it. I'm like, why didn't I get it? You're like, it was the price. It was the price.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm pretty comfortable now flying. I do a lot of manual flight stuff. I think this new. What'd you say, the AS, or what's the new one?
The Air 2S.
Air 2 does like some program moves now.
Yeah.
Like it automatically will circle.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to play with that when I get the new one. But
Yeah.
that's pretty sweet. What else you got? Other technology you playing? You always got something cool.
Let's see. I think that the other most recent technology that I've gotten into is, let me think.
Do you have any smart devices at home, like an Alexa or a Google Assistant?
I don't. I was thinking of old school smart devices. I don't know if you could call the clapper, if you remember that.
Okay, yeah.
But I remember, like, I was thinking about going back to the retro smart devices, whereas, like, when I was growing up, my grandma, I guess everyone's grandma had the clapper, but that was the thing. It was like, man, like, I could turn my lights on and off. But, but then, like, many years later, the Alexa or the Google or whatever, or Siri or whatever, but you could control it through voice. But like back in the early 90s, it was clap on, clap off.
But then any loud noise.
Yeah, right.
Any loud noise.
It wasn't perfected.
No, like the commercial for it would like make your house go on and off.
Yeah.
Well, you should add some stuff, because in my house, and I've probably said this too many times now, it's every single podcast, I have a lot of stuff connected. So I say, hey Google, good morning, and it turns on the lights, turns my thermostat on, TVs, does all kind, and I have cameras and stuff, so I can say, hey Google, I want to watch the front porch and stuff like that. But then like it does break every once in a while, and if you yell at it, Google will yell back at you. So if you call it a name, like it will ask not to be asked that, or not to be told that. So that part gets a little creepy.
Yeah,
but
right.
It is just fantastic. So like I said, I have a 12-year-old, so you don't think how much time you spend when you walk down, turn the TV on, turn the light on, adjust the thermostat, turn whatever. It eventually just eats at my brain. I don't know if anybody else is like that.
Yeah, right.
I just love saying, hey Google, good morning.
That's right.
It's so nice. But then if you do, I made a skit with my daughter because she was making fun of it, because sometimes I say I'm leaving, and it's supposed to turn everything off. But sometimes it just gives me the definition of the word leaving. Like, I don't know why. It's my daughter wrote a sketch, and I actually shot it. And the problem with the sketch is I can't watch the sketch, because every time I watch a sketch, my whole house turns off. Do you think you should add some stuff? I think it would be funny though if you went retro and you just added all kinds of old stuff.
That's what I should do. Yeah, the clapper. that would be something. And say, I need to turn my lights on. Just clap on and off. That would be, make it into like some beat thing where like every time it hears like clap, 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 clap. It's like, what's his name? The cha-cha slide. Maybe when he starts clapping his hands, I like turn that up full blast and my lights start strobing. Now,
see, I have thought about that. Now, being this age, I realize like I gotta pick my projects and like do those projects. I'm all this new technology, and every time I get something new, I want to do 1,000 things. But I have thought, and I'm like, well, this really kind of gives you an opportunity if you take these smart devices and kind of pair them all up. you could do some kind of interesting things like that where you can time it up with music. Music video would probably be the first idea to kind of do something like that. And I have thought, like I do have the studio set up with some smart devices and stuff where like now it's easier to tell the TV to turn on and stuff. But that would be interesting to do something like that. Next music video. You ever hear of Sierra Sellers?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do a music video with her because she is fantastic.
For sure.
And extremely talented.
Yeah.
So she's not listening, but if you are Sarah, I still want to do that music video.
Work with Dustin.
Yeah, where have we done? We had a couple of meetings, but it was during the pandemic. I don't know why we thought we were going to pull it off. It's like, it's not going to work.
That's right.
Let's end it. I always like to end it with TikTok talk because I love TikTok, and we talked a little bit about it. And I think we kind of talk about the algorithms and stuff and how being on different social media is, like you said, Twitter. It's like, what is this? I'm like, I wish it was just show me what I want. And I've been on TikTok for maybe 2 years now. And at first I remember it was very familiar to how I watched TV as when I was a kid. And I would flick through the stations. And when I got better at it, you could flick really fast. You know, and I'd be like, no, that wasn't good. And that's how TikTok was for a while. But now the difference is there's no more bad stations for me. The algorithm has figured me out where every video is just perfect.
That's right.
And it's not even the same type of genre. So is that your feel for it? Do you use TikTok a lot?
So it's like, when I want to just go on and look at mindless content, I think that's what TikTok has become. Whereas like Instagram, you kind of aren't getting that in your feed. You're just like kind of getting like the picture people that you follow, and you know, I guess you can go on Reels, but like with TikTok, like I'll discover like music things and like, you know, music tips, or you know, then the Island Boys will pop up, you know, just like, I'm like, okay, great. Or there's like somebody shaking their butt. I'm like, all right, I don't know why this is coming up, but okay, you know, whatever. But, and then what's another thing that I see? A lot of, these memes and
the trending memes,
and the comedy sketches and whatever, like the girl that hits her butt and she's like, you know.
Yeah, that one was so popular. I don't know how that one got.
I think that's the thing that I start to look at is like, why are these videos, like, I mean, I produce videos, so, and I put some of my content on there, and it's interesting, and that's what I say like about all these platforms. So there's TikTok, there's Reddit, you know, so like I've been posting, I have like a channel for the stuff that I produce for my comedy show called Magic Trade Day. All of my stuff on TikTok does like, it's like one video could get like 2 views, one video can get like 1,000 views. I'm like, there really isn't a difference between the two videos. I don't understand why. Or I've, made the videos like 9:16 instead of like, and some of those videos don't do as well as the other ones. So you're just like, it is just a roll of the dice. But in terms of like content, it throws a lot of like just random stuff at me, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think I have a little bit of both on that. Like I do feel like I'm getting better at like understanding like what I need to make for it to work. And the rules are changing daily and stuff like that. Right. Like I've had my buddy Matt Light, like we reposted the Easter video and he just posted it normal. Like it was not like fixed to like be, I think I edited it down for him to a minute.
Yeah.
And 100,000 views.
Right.
That video is 3 years old and it's like, what? Okay. Yeah. And like so many comments. Now I think we had a slight advantage that the way we shot it and the weather, it looked like we shot it last week.
Yeah, right.
So we had that advantage to it. But there is this weird thing. It's like, how do you use this? And I'm starting to realize, I think TikTok is really, besides learning, which I think it's really great. I do think it's like this quick form of learning now where you can really take in some knowledge different than YouTube. But like how to use it for like larger projects. And what I seem to see a lot is like something awesome is happening in the world, either a great movie, TV show, event, and then there's these micro versions of like people's takes on it. So like I said, that show I watched was Severance, great show on Apple TV. The reason I started watching that show is because someone put like the first like minute of it on TikTok and had like a weird voiceover explaining. That's why I started watching the show. Yeah. So I still see that's like the kind of avenue to like, it's an avenue to like bigger things. And I think it's just better at learning. Like I really used to like a lot of my stuff I learned for video production was from YouTube. Like very little came from college. Yeah. And I think now TikTok realized you gotta get rid of the intros, all the fucking stuff of like, oh, I was too tired, that's why I haven't posted in a while. It's just content. Yeah. Like one of my favorite channels is guys called Matt Fix It. and all he does is he goes to people's houses, and he's a handyman. He's a goofball handyman, like 38 years old, and he will show me how to redo a bathroom in 3 minutes, and I love it. That's all I want. I don't need to hear like, oh, welcome to my YouTube channel, guys, and sorry I wasn't on here last week, and follow me on this, and this. I don't want that stuff.
Yeah. No, it is like the it's like I was saying earlier, is like the headline news of video.
Yes.
So they actually want more. They say like the shorter your content is, the more it's going to possibly get picked up.
Yeah.
Because I mean, so if you produce a video that's like 6-7 seconds long, you're more likely to get seen. Now the key is that how do you get your 7 seconds video, to have somebody watch a longer form video of yours. So,
right, and that is the key. And it's weird now because every couple months they add it. Like now it was 3 minutes, and then you can do 5 minutes. I think you can do up to 10 minutes now if you're like a certain creator.
A good thing is like I had an experience with this a couple months ago. Is all this content that I produce for TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, blah blah blah. People like, some people on Facebook might like it more. It might get more traction on Facebook than Instagram or whatever. But I took all of these videos and compiled them into a like a 20-minute, 25-minute thing. All these videos I did, and I had a screening a couple months ago at this theater in McKees It's called the Parkway Theater, a part of Film Kitchen. But when you put all these little pieces together in the 1-minute skits, then it becomes like, oh, now you can see the story. So I think that's the thing, is like, as a filmmaker, don't just think of like TikTok as your end all be all to where you can get your content out to. Think of like the bigger picture. Like TikTok is just the carrot that you're dangling out for people to see. But say, if I want to produce something more long form, how is this going to interplay with that? So I think that's the thing that you'll figure out at some point with TikTok, is how to take short form stuff and expand on it, because you're not going to go to a movie theater and watch a 2-second film. It's just not. You're just saying,
you're not showing up for that.
I got gypped. So I think that if you're trying to just put the interest out there, that's great. But how is that all going to interplay?
That's why a lot of these people that actually are doing it to make money or want to do it career, they usually end up going on tour, and they don't even know what that is. No, like YouTuber comedians and TikTok comedians, they try to figure that out because they realize like, okay, well, this is cool. It's getting me views, but unless you were very consistent and have something special, you got to find something else to work.
Right.
I think that's interesting because I still do make those you like this videos with Alex Sapola. And those are meant to be short form. When we started those, that was supposed to be short form for YouTube. And now I have thought maybe we should change something up. But either way, at one point in time, I think we showed them all together before like a short film. So like it was like the pre content. And that it was so different. And it was like you took more appreciation of the character because you did kind of see like, oh, there's these two guys and there's this storyline instead of like individual, like, what's this weird German guy? I don't get it.
That's right.
But you watch 6 of them, you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, right.
I get it now. So, but I love TikTok. Well, maybe we should make some TikToks. You got to get me to come over to what's the studio?
PCTV.
Yeah, I'll come over there and you come over here.
That's right.
And we'll do some of that. Is there anything else you want to plug for the show?
I think that just my company, DNAPS Productions. I run my own independent production content development company, and then I also play music. So if you want to check out my band Identity X, or I've also started doing solo gigs now, and I have a YouTube channel dedicated to that called DNAPS Guitar Jams.
Ooh.
So a lot of that content that I produce, and then also my comedy show, Magic Tray Day. If you want to see your Adult Swim humor like Dustin's You Like This, it is fall in that whole territory of awkwardness, and every idea, it is literally like just whatever comes out of my head that morning, like stomping on Chip or Captain Crunch in a pothole. How can I make that happen?
It's Tim and Eric right up in that genre.
Right.
Man, you're doing so much similar stuff to me. I can't plug my stuff because now we're like too many things. But Darren, thank you for coming. This has been the Smart House, guys. If you want to see more podcasts and funny videos, you can check out www.thepitts.company. We're on Instagram and all the other social medias, Facebook and stuff. The company that's doing all this for us and helping out production-wise is the Gateway.media. Check them out for all your video production needs. Once again, this is Smart House. Thanks for coming, Darren. Talk to you guys again next week.